Here's a metaphor for you. Long COVID is like the fentanyl of medical problems. Everybody is worried about it. They give it lip service, but they're not really getting it done and taking the actions that are needed to deal with it. And that is becoming more and more true. Millions of people have long COVID, okay? Millions. And the more I learn, the more experts echo the same thought to me. Those are just the ones who know it. Most of you don't even get diagnosed. You think it's something else. So we got to stay on it. And what I'm realizing as I get deeper into it is that we have a transparency issue. I have a lot of forgiveness for what happened during the pandemic because I know for a fact how on their back foot and on their heels our leaders were, how little they knew and how desperate they were for answers. But now I don't forgive it the same way. And a judge just yesterday had to put out a ruling forcing the government to release more COVID data surrounding the vaccine. You know, it's been said, news is what somebody somewhere wants to suppress. Everything else is advertising. It's true, right? Sure enough, 8 million reports of adverse effects from the vaccine. They won't release them. And now, this isn't that VAERS stuff where it could just be someone filling it out. It's never vetted. This is from a program, an app that they created called vSafe. And then they don't release the data. Well, here's why it matters. Because not only are they not telling us what they know, but they are allowing too many people to operate on the basis of what is wrong. How so? A new release in a study. Myocarditis. Okay, it's a heart ailment. It's rare, but it's real, okay? They just released this study. It says it is not because of COVID-19. Oh, that's good news, right? No, because myocarditis has been increasing since the pandemic started. So then what is doing it if it's not the virus? Dr. Robin Rose, double board certified physician, okay? Long COVID specialist. Terrain Health is the clinic where they are coming up with their own research and their own protocols to help people like me and you, if you have it. Doc, good to see you.
Good to see you. How are you?
As a clinician, why does it matter that there is data that isn't coming out about what may be happening, let's say in the latest instance, with the vaccine? Why does it matter so much?
Because I think a lot of people, so as a clinician and a physician that is dealing with this on a daily basis, you know, yes, there's patients that have long COVID from the virus, but there's patients also that have had side effects from the vaccine and have disabilities and are suffering, and they want to be heard and they're not heard. And so data like this coming out can be very validating for those people. Not to say that it's telling you, you know, it's not telling us what patients went on to long COVID or not, or onto long vax, as I call it, or not, but it's validating because there's millions of people out there that are suffering and their voices are not being heard.
Understood. Well, I'll tell you, part of it is it's bad news, right? And the government's not in the business of spreading bad news or news that is bad for it. But I'll tell you what I don't like, and Robin's not going to like that I'm saying this, but she can yell at me later. She knows things that she is afraid to tell you because of the reaction from political circles that will come after her. So the people who are trying to get us better are worried about what they do and say because of politics. It's a bad place we put ourselves in. And good for Robin for deciding to come out anyway. So the other study you flagged for me, which is proof of the problem of what happens when you don't have the data, is that you can misdiagnose as well. So myocarditis, very scary, heart ailment, affects young people, affects older people, but it's the young people we worry about. We had thought it was from the virus. Now they have a study that comes out, says in all these cadavers that they looked at, these autopsies, no, it's not the virus. Well, then what is it?
Okay, let me explain this. So basically, the vaccine, after the vaccine was rolled out, we saw, especially in younger males, that there was an uptick in myocarditis compared to other vaccines in the past. Okay, However, there was a camp, there's this vaccine camp, and then there's also the COVID camp. And the people that are very, wanting to talk about what the vaccine can do to people, they were very happy when this study emerged because it showed in these cadavers, in these autopsies, that there was no myocarditis found in these autopsy studies on the, when they examined the heart, obviously post-mortem. So that was a big deal. But then you have other studies, Chris, that show, there was a meta-analysis done that looked at 50 studies, all, post-COVID patients as well. 548 hearts were examined, and it showed that there was myocardial necrosis, or, death of the cells of the heart, okay? And that there was a lot of damage to the heart. My point is here, and so let's get real, okay? This is what I want to talk to you about. There's two camps. There's this vaccine camp, and then there's this COVID camp. There's no camps. These are people's lives. People are suffering, okay? There's a multitude of issues here that have to be dealt with by the scientists and the physicians at large, okay? And we need to recognize that there's multiple causes to long COVID, and that there's multiple factors at play. That's what I want people to understand, okay? People need to stop digging their heels in. They need to come together, and they need to act like physicians and scientists, okay? Where we debate these things, we get it out in the open, and we talk about it, okay? As a physician, my job is to observe, to make hypotheses, okay, and see if these things are right or not. Not to not talk about these things, because we have a crisis here. There are tens of millions of people sick. And you're right, a lot of them don't realize they have COVID until they get to a doctor, long COVID, until they get to a doctor like me. And we do the right diagnostics on them, and we build a timeline with them, and we get the right history from them. And you can show that there's a direct correlation between when they were exposed to the virus or when they maybe had a vaccine. And we don't need to point fingers. There doesn't have to be a political narrative here. We just need to talk about it and get people better and come up with solutions. That's what we need to do.
And so Dr. Rose and her group at Terrain Health, they're having to do the research themselves and kind of combine all over the world with people who are focusing on this real time, because who knows what the governments are telling us and what they're not. I appreciate you for coming on, especially on a Friday night. You must be very busy.
Very busy.
All right, so to be continued. Dr. Rose says she'll keep coming on to talk about these issues with us as they emerge with long COVID. And as I get more into my treatment protocol with Dr. Rose, I'll be sharing that on the Substack with her, okay? Because that's for people who have long COVID and want to learn about it, and clinicians who treat it. I know a lot of you don't check those boxes. Dr. Rose, thank you.
Good night. Bye, Chris.
It's a judgy look I just got from my doctor. 3 minutes, 45 seconds. They judge you, these clinicians. That's what they do. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.